Welcome back to the Delaware Way. We continue our conversation now with Matt Meyer, Newcastle County Executive. So you've been going aggressively at vacant homes and delinquent landlords. How has that worked out so far?
Well, 2.5 years ago when I decided to run for this office, nobody knew who I was. I didn't have any money to run. What my campaign manager told me is start knocking on doors. So along with a team of volunteers, high school and college kids, we in the course of 6 months knocked on nearly 10,000 doors across this county. Urban areas of the county in the city of Wilmington, Newark, Middletown, suburban areas, rural areas. And so there were certain themes that start to develop when you knock on all these doors. And one of the common themes was how in nearly every neighborhood across this county, there were vacant homes that people didn't want, that either were a blight on the community, were a magnet for bad stuff, for policing, for drug activity or criminal activity, and brought down the value of everybody's home in the area. So when I came into office, I said this has to be a problem that we solve or begin to address. Now, I go and speak to county employees about it. We have a housing department, an affordable housing program. We have a code enforcement section that's separate from affordable housing. We, of course, have a police department. We have a 911 and paramedic service. And none of those offices were talking to each other. Everyone saw the tremendous problem that was vacant housing, but no one was able to solve it alone. So what we did out of my office, headed by my chief of staff, Andrea Allman, we put together an initiative called Vacant Spaces to Livable Places. And in the course of 18 months, we have brought in $974,225.85 as of this morning of revenue of delinquent tax and code enforcement bills. And we've reduced our number of vacant houses in unincorporated Newcastle County by 31%, from 1,350 to 934.
When you say you reduce them, what do you do with the homes?
So the goal, right, what we'd like to do is get them in private hands. A delinquent property, right, a delinquent property that's a blight on a neighborhood from the county's perspective is a huge opportunity for an affordable house or a renovation opportunity for a developer, right? So first thing we did is we made it clear to these 1,350 landowners that it's not acceptable anymore. If you have a vacant property, if you're not taking care of it, you're not paying your taxes, you need to be held to account, just like I'm held to account. I need to pay my property taxes, you need to pay yours, so a vacant property owner needs to pay. And simply by sending out letters saying, hey, we're paying attention now, we brought in some resources. People started to sell off their properties, recognizing that there's an actual effort to get rid of these. We've also started, as of 4 months ago, to bring properties through sheriff's sale. For almost 10 years, the county did not bring a single property into sheriff's sale.
But unless you do something better with the homes, it doesn't do too much for the community, does it not? We had somebody from the Department of Housing here just a moment ago, and they were talking about how they have all these programs to take vacant homes and put people into them. You're working towards that.
So, Larry, when you think of vacant homes, and when most people think of vacant homes, what they think of is an awful piece of property in an awful neighborhood that nobody wants. And there are those. That's the minority. The majority are properties in usually pretty decent neighborhoods for which there is a market value, but the owner's just not taking care of them. And unless somebody comes after them and says, hey, you need to pay up, or we're going to take it to sheriff's sale, sometimes it'll just linger for years and years and years.
Are you saying that forces them to sell? Do you take over?
Both. Forces them to sell. If they don't sell, they need to pay up and start taking care of their property. If they don't do A or B, then we take it to sheriff's sale. And we just yesterday took, I think, 7 properties to sheriff's sale.
But it's an improvement for the neighborhood.
There's
no question. I mean, it becomes a viable house. You bring somebody in that's paying taxes, and
that's right.
In all these cases, or most of these
cases? There were a number of other things in addition to bringing it to sheriff's sale. With the cooperation of the state legislature and county council, we've passed 10 laws, or I think 6 laws, and I signed 4 executive orders to make sure, for example, when we bring a property to sheriff's sale, any bidder on our properties cannot have delinquent taxes. So we're making sure the new owner of the property is a responsible owner or doesn't have a history of irresponsibility. So that adds to the likelihood that it will become a viable property.
I just want to spend a minute talking about the midterm elections that we just had, because Delaware became a bluer state. There's no question. And when you look at that, your seat, the county executive, has been a launching board to bigger office. It's the governors and senators have come from where you're
I don't
at.
know if a single governor has come from county
Is that
executive.
right?
Point well taken, yeah. There's one senator that I know of who came from, in the whole history of county executives, who's become...
So you're not saying it's not a springboard? This is not it's not a legitimate question to ask where you're
think
going next?
If it is a springboard, well, there have been people, a couple people just talked to me over the weekend about, possibly making a run for president in 2020, and I told mom and dad to relax. I didn't want to go that fast, but jokes aside, we're laser focused on doing things for our citizens, for doing things for our constituents. I was elected to do that and do that very hard, working long hours for 4 years. And I make sure there are 1,434 county employees who I expect to come to work every day to serve the people of this county, and that's true of me as well.
So this is the job you want. You have no political aspirations. You don't look at the midterms and go, oh, darn it, all those people won, I have nowhere to go.
Of course I have aspirations. Of course I know that, unlike your job or a lot of other people's job, there is an end date on my job. The longest I can do this job is another 6 years. But right now, I was elected to do this job for 4 years. The best thing I can do for all the aspirations that I have is to do a great job to deliver services to the people
For all
of this
those
county.
aspirations you have, which are?
Which are to continue to serve in greater and better ways.
It's a 6 year. It's a 6 year from now problem.
Well, I mean, you never know what will come up and when it will come up. But right now, we're focused on delivering through 2020 and then making a case to voters to continue through 2024. Is
having the state so blue, is that a good thing?
Well, I think, first of all, in a fantastic economy, best economy in years and years, for there to be so many votes really against the president says something that I think tone matters, that when you use divisive language, as the president's doing, people don't want that. People in Delaware don't want that, and I think a lot of people around the country don't want it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Larry.
Always good to talk to you. Matt Meyer, Newcastle County Executive. When we come back, we will be talking to the Delaware Housing Authority about some of the stuff we just talked about, except statewide, and what the authority is doing to fill those vacant houses. Programs that may be available to you when the Delaware Way continues.